Today I'd like to read you a story. It's from this book, and hang on, I know you're thinking you can't just read stories from books. Well, this one I happen to be able to read to you because I wrote it. It's a true story, and it happens to be really relevant. It's right around Valentine's Day right now, and there's snow in the forecast. It's definitely cold enough outside to snow right now. I'd like to read to you A Tale of Two Snowfalls. A February snowfall in most parts of Canada is not particularly surprising, but in rain-soaked Vancouver it can paralyze the entire region. The morning of February 14th, 1990, it started snowing. My new boyfriend and I had plans to celebrate our first Valentine's Day together at a romantic lakeside restaurant in a suburb just outside the city. We were to meet at his office after work and go on together from there. By late afternoon it was still snowing. I decided to take a bus rather than chance driving in those conditions. I asked my sweetie to meet me at a fast food restaurant along the route. Suspecting a slow commute, I left an hour for what would normally be a 30-minute drive. The bus arrived on time and I hopped on. That's when things started to go wrong. Traffic was indeed bad. The bus crept along so slowly that after an hour I was still close enough to walk back home. I considered doing just that, but this was before the days of ubiquitous cell phones. I had no way to reach my date, who I knew would be waiting patiently for me at the restaurant. I persevered. As long as traffic was moving, I knew I'd reach him eventually. Then the bus stopped completely. The city was gridlocked. 3 hours had passed since I boarded, and I was still barely halfway to my destination. It was time to get off the bus. I stepped into a whitewashed landscape. There was not a taxi in sight, and no buses were running back into the city. They were all stalled in the convoy headed out of town. I had to walk home. When I finally reached my apartment, covered in a crust of snow, my boyfriend had been waiting for me for more than 4 hours. I looked up the number for the fast food restaurant where he was waiting and called. I crossed my fingers that I'd reach a sympathetic soul. I knew he wouldn't have given up and left. He just wasn't like that. The employee who answered explained that they could not give a message to a customer. "Please," I begged. "I'm sure you'll recognize him. He's a young, bald guy, and he's been waiting there for hours," without ordering anything. I guessed that he would not have eaten, hoping that at any minute I would walk in and we would be able to carry on with our somewhat delayed plans. "I know exactly who you mean," the employee replied. "I'll tell him." No more than 30 minutes later, there was a knock on my door. It was my sweetie. He had made it back to my place in record time. The roads coming back into the city were completely empty. All the traffic was heading out. It took people up to 8 hours to get home that night. We went out for a quiet late dinner at a neighborhood bistro. We had no trouble getting a table as most of the reservations had been canceled. Fast forward 5 years to Valentine's Day, 1995. My boyfriend was now my husband, and I had a new job at Simon Fraser University set atop Burnaby Mountain. When I took the job, I'd been told that I could look forward to occasional bonus days off, as the university usually had to close for a few snow days each winter. After our first disastrous Valentine's Day together, we had not tried to celebrate the occasion again. However, after 5 years without incident, we decided it was safe to make plans. Another dinner in a cozy romantic setting. When it started to snow that afternoon, my colleagues advised me to leave right away. I assured them that I would finish up whatever vitally important document I was working on and go. They all went home. By the time I was ready to depart, I was the only person left in my department, and the only road off the mountain had been closed. No one was leaving. I could see the line of stalled traffic from my office window. I was stranded, alone, wearing a business suit, stockings, and high-heel shoes. Hardly appropriate attire for traipsing around in a snowstorm. I called my dear husband to come and rescue me. This time, it took him much longer to reach me. He had to walk all the way up the mountain. The road was closed at the bottom. He arrived with the best Valentine's Day present ever, pants or trousers, depending on which side of the pond you're from, and hiking boots. We made our way down together and have not celebrated a single Valentine's Day since. Could it be coincidence that there have not been any more Valentine snowfalls in Vancouver? Perhaps we should have made plans for February 14th, 2010, the opening day of the Vancouver Winter Olympics. Vancouver had record warm weather during the Vancouver Winter Olympics. So that's my story of Valentine's Day, and I thought this was an appropriate time to share it. I was a full-time parent for many years, and then when my kids were both in school full-time, I started to think about what I might like to do as a career, and I thought I might like to write. So I wrote a few stories about my life and things that have happened to me, and a number of them were published. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe I'll read some of my other stories another time.